Thank you very much, and welcome to the Arts Alive stage, where we're bringing you Cranky's String and Pipe Circus of Possibilities, featuring J.D. Roos and the Little Big Band, and our director, our fine director, Parlando Rubato.
Well, that would be me. I'm Parlando. Hello, everybody. Oh, we're happy to be here today. Now, tell me, JD, what is art? Where's it come from?
Art. Well, now let's see. Art. Art is a many splendid thing, and it comes from inquisitive minds. Inquisitive minds that see things often that others don't see. So what they're seeing is possibilities. A good example of that. Let me show you a fine example. My grandson the other day, I'll have to come a little closer here, but my grandson the other day came out of the kitchen and was just tickled with this possibility here. This. So he found that he could make a harp out of a common egg cutter. That's seeing possibilities. And he made art out of it. The other thing, of course, art is art comes from the heart. It needs a warm heart filled with love or something. And it's not for the faint of heart, because it's often difficult. You have to take risks, and so you have to really love what you're doing. And the last one, of course, is fun. Art is, for me, a fun thing. It's something that everyone has in them and loves to bring out in other people. So let's take a little tour here of our circus of possibilities. And before that, though, we'll have, could you please, Parlando, could you bring on the acrobats, please? So bring on the acrobats.
What is that? What kind of organ is that, John? JD? What is it?
Well, this Parlando, I'm glad you asked. This is, we call it the organism. And, you know, part of what it is I work with the mushroom industry when I'm not on the circus route. And I work with automation, and so I go to a place called Bircham's, one of the sponsors of Arts Alive. Bircham's Metals there in Albany, and get stuff. And one day they had a whole bin of organ pipes that had come out of a church in Albany. And I thought, oh, I got to have those. The guy's got to do something with that. And so I tried a lot of different iterations with these pipes. One of them was blowing on them. But I set up a whole bunch of these and was jumping back and forth, and I thought I was going to lose my teeth, so I thought I better do something different than that. So that's when I came up with the idea of why not have foot bellows. Now, so that's what these are here. And they go up through a tube and then go up into these pipes. And what I'd wanted, an inspiration for this was a guy named Jesse Fuller, who was a blues player in San Francisco who had what he called a fadella, which was a bass that he was rigged up with some pedals that he could play the bass and the guitar and the harmonica all at the same time. And I like that, and I like the sound of a jug as a bass. And one of the things with these notes, as well as a jug, is that it isn't hitting a precise note. The note kind of comes up to it. Parlando, could you give us a little demonstration of a jug? Oh, that's very, very nice. That's good. That's good. So here's one then that I call the horn and pipe waltz. Oh, and we're going to be joined here by our part of our dance troupe. We have One-Eyed Jack, he's wild, and then the Queen of Hearts. And they're going to be providing some liveliness. There we have it. The horn and pipe waltz. Thank you, thank you. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, we loved it. That was great. I loved it. But what's the horn you're playing? I see the organ, but what's the horn? I have a horn, but it's different.
Yeah, well, we've been playing a couple horns, and these are just really simple kazoos. You see, here's a kazoo, and then here's a horn. Here's a kazoo, and here's a kazoo. I mean, a horn. And you see, the horn, kazoo. I love the kazoo, but anybody can play it. But it sounds like a kazoo, which is unfortunate. So what you find is that by simply putting a bell on it, a brass bell on it, you can make it louder. But it still, unfortunately, sounds like a kazoo. So what a guy's got to do is a guy's got to put a second bell on it over the little resonator part. And then it sounds more horny. And I like horny music. Yes, sir, Bob. So I think one of the things that people are doing these days is trying to stay happy, and art, as it turns out, can help people stay happy. And so here's a bit of a song about happiness. Wherever you go, whatever you do, you're followed around by you. You're right there at the end of your hair, cooking in your own darn stew. So give it a chance, shake the hands from your pants, cut loose and do what you do. You're the one behind the peepers that cook your stew, so cook up some good for you. Oh, don't run, be happy, don't bum. Always happy, follow your heart, get a brand new start when the sun comes up for the day. Oh, just smile, chilly while, you be happy, 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 Don't worry, don't fret, forget your regret. You're not at the end, not yet. You got a long, long rope, stretch it out with hope. Kick and laugh, you bet. You're not in the basket, you're not in the casket, so get up and move your load. Oh, slippers and shoes, so come on, get out and do. Oh, don't run, be happy, don't bum. Always happy, follow your heart, get a brand new start when the sun comes up for the day. Oh, just smile, chilly while, you're sure to get happy, happy, happy today. Thank you very, very much. Thank you. Now we're gonna move on now to one of our other possibilities here, and that was, well, I went back to Bertram's and found some more pipes. I'll tell you about those in a minute, but these we're not going to run with our foot. No, sirree, Bob. So we'll be right back. Oh, yes, and of course now, bring on the elephants.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, thank you. But can you tell us about this?
Oh, well, no, so this one I call the Siamese hand pipes. Now these, instead of your foot running them, it's the these bellows, hand bellows. And this one, of course, now is called the Siamese hand bellows because somebody had given me these little marionettes a long time ago. They're from Thailand or Burma, and they'd been hanging around for years, so I thought I'd better do something with them. And of course, no circus is complete without a monkey. So there we have it now. And that's this one I think sounds more like a calliope than what you might think. Interesting thing about this one is these pipes, organ pipes, also came from Bertram's. I went in there one day looking for something else, and here was a plane load, a whole full plane load of pipes, beautiful little pipes. And the owner came out, Jay, and he said, "Oh, so glad you came because we just got in some new pipes." And another fellow who worked there came up and says, "Oh, but I just sold them." And they said they sold them to a guy because most of them were lead, made out of lead, unlike these others that are made out of zinc. And the guy had them run some tests to make sure they were lead, and if they were, they wanted to keep them because they were going to melt them down, folks. In this day and age, they were going to melt them down and turn them into bullets. Yeah, so I think this is a little better use.
Well, I just have to say, John, I'm wondering if you're okay, because you look a little cranky.
Cranky? I am cranky. Yes, sirree. As cranky as they get. So, what are we going to do now? Let's bring in the clowns. I think it's time to bring in the clowns. Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful. Oh, this looks interesting. Now, what is this wonderful, wonderful machine?
Well, I'm glad that you asked, because you see, this machine is called, this one now is actually called a musical cranky. A musical. But normally, the top part of this is what's called a cranky. And what all a cranky is, it's a very old thing before TV and all that kind of stuff, and people would have to tell stories using scrolls or pictures. And throughout almost all cultures, that's what you find, is that was a way of storytelling. And these crankies, for example, during the first World's Fair, there was a cranky built at that time. This would have been the 1800s, I guess, that was 8 feet tall and about 20 feet long, and had, I don't know how many feet of a scroll in it, and it was a trip up the Mississippi. So there's a long history of these crankies that have been kind of revitalized, and I thought, well, I want to make one of those. That'd be fun. And so I made a box, this kind of, and then thought, well, I need to make a scroll, right? It's got to have a story. I couldn't think of a story, so I just went out there and started drawing stuff on a long spool of butcher paper here, and finally said, well, that's good. And then I thought, well, if I'm turning this crank, it's called a crank because it has a crank that you turn and it turns this around. Since I'm turning that crank, I might as well have it make some music, because after all, that would be fun. And so when I turn this crank, this moves along, and then there's a drum down here, and that drum turns around at a different speed, so it's all geared through a bunch of bicycle gears, and that then lifts up these hammers and hits the old white keys of the xylophone by where I put little screws in there. And so then it was like, well, okay, I got this cranky and it can move this drum, but now I got to have some music in there. And it turns up, I thought, well, if I'm doing that, it might as well be one of my songs, you know. And so I thought, well, the one that would be easiest for me to do would be the Yellow Bird Waltz. And so that's what this is, the Yellow Bird Waltz. And then I thought, well, oh, I get it, because there were yellow birds all in the drawings that I'd done. And it was sort of a springtime scene. And so I thought, it finally dawned on me that really what this was, what it is it's a creation myth, personified. And it turns up, well, you'll see what it turns up. I have a little story that I must tell of the wee yellow bird that we all know so well. Way up in the mountains, all covered with snow, the springtime was coming, the sun came aglow. Sun it did shine, and it warmed the air. As it warmed the air, a yellow bird did appear. And another fine bird came flying about, and flew together as the sun shined out. They flew in the sunshine, so happy for weeks. Then in came some clouds to cuddle the peaks. They settled in a fine nest they did spin, a nest made with love, filled with eggs from above. They tended their nest till the wee ones did hatch, then fed it the finest as they tended the batch. Oh, the fine speckled eggs, oh, hatched one by one. Little yellow wings began to flap in the sun. A rainbow appeared, they all flew from their nest. They climbed on the rainbow, they flew their best. They climbed into the night as the sun went down. Now they are the stars that fly round and round. Yes, they are the stars that shine round and round. Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Fantastic, fantastic. Now, John, that was wonderful. I see why you were cranky. And so tell us, do you have any more fine stories that you could tell us?
Oh, I have some other stories, but for that we'll have to go on over to the Sunnyland stage. So maybe it's time now. Bring on some bears for us, would you, Parlando? Well, thank you again. And, now we're out here on the Sunnyland stage. And the Sunnyland stage, it's sunny all the time unless it's not. And today we have a story a little bit. We know that seeing possibilities is what brings art alive. And this story today hardly is about where do ideas and possibilities, where do these things come from, right? And at least for me, it's usually, I wake up in the morning and here there's some idea, completely formulated, and people often say, and I often think, well, there's some little birdie must have come around and told me in my sleep because, I didn't think this out. Well, today, folks, this is kind of an unveiling, really. This, I've found out, this is where ideas come from, right here. This is where they come from. And what happens here is, this is where the little birdies are. And they're generating these ideas. A bunch of cats are sitting around coming up with ideas. And they're generating ideas and they fly around at night to let us know just what they are. So this little story now today, it turns up that, well, again, back way up in the mountains there, lived a couple. Rosie and her man, Juan, the dancing Juan. Juan could dance. Rosie was not bad either. And there were often airplanes flying all over on the mountains there that reminded Rosie here of how much she missed the fact that her Juan had gone away. And they had a beautiful house, and Rosie would often walk around and dance and do her things in the day. But then, what happened is, at night time, as night drew near, and the stars came out and the moon, Rosie would start feeling, well, rather sad, because she'd missed her dear one. But that would get her really thinking about her man. So she would then just lie down and think about all that she was missing with him and their lives together, because they'd spent so long together. And eventually she'd fall asleep. Now, you might be wondering, well, where is her Juan? Well, it turns out that Juan here, say hi, Juan. Hi, Juan. Juan here, being, first of all, a fantastic dancer. But that wasn't all he did. No, Juan was one of these guys, a cowboy. Juan's a cowboy, but he wasn't just a cowboy. What happened is, from way up in those mountains there, they'd fatten up the cattle up there in Montana and Wyoming, and they would then drive those cattle all the way down to the feedlots in Texas. and then have to come back home. And this is where he was on one of these drives. But Juan, as well as being a good dancer, was a crafty old soul. And what he realized that what he needed on these cattle drives was a back haul. He didn't want to run back all by himself with nothing to bring. And what he found out, that up there in Montana, there were lots of rodents and this kind of thing. And what they needed and didn't have was cats. You see, and so our man Juan here decided that what he'd do would be to drive herds of cats back up to Montana, and that's where he was. He was on his way back there. And you know, the nighttime would come there, and he was also extremely lonely for his Rosie. And you can see he would often just sleep right out there under the stars. Oops, now you've seen it into the past. Yes, folks, he was out there cat herding, no doubt about it. And he'd sleep there, just out there with his cats. And you know what would happen is he'd start to dream. And he'd dream of his Rosie and all the love that they had. And those would get mixed up with the stars in his head. And he'd dream more and he'd dream more. And finally, he'd fall asleep. And this, folks, this is when the little birdies would come. And the birdies would then fly back. They'd understand what he was thinking. They might even tell him something. They'd tell him about how much he was missed by Rosie at home. And so he'd go back. And then, this is where the idea generation comes in. The cats would figure out what's the best thing to do, and they'd let the little flying birdies find what they could do. So, what they did was they flew around and the birdie told Rosie that Juan was missing her terribly and would love it to be home and was going to get up in the morning and come right home. And Rosie was so excited about that. Terribly excited. Very excited, Rosie. Stuck in her sleep, she had a hard time waking up. But she finally did wake up. And she was so happy to be awake. And so happy that Juan was coming back. And as you can imagine, folks, although Juan had a restless night sleeping, he woke up and was so excited about getting back to Rosie. And when they saw each other, it was magic. And they danced all day, but it had been a hard day, and Juan just wanted to lay down for the night with his fine Rosie. And so they just lay there together again. and had found each other once again. Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you. I personally want to thank you for sharing your time with us. That's all the possibilities we have for today. There will be plenty more possibilities coming up. But thank you so much for joining our circus today. And Parlando, do you have a little something to add?
Well, I do, of course. And what I'd like to say is thank you to Arts Alive for keeping art alive. That's what we need in this world. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
That's great. Thank you very much, Parlando. And now have a nice day, folks.